Very, very excited, and with good reason, about Texas softball, the number one ranked team in the country, earning its highest national seed in program history. They'll be at home for the regionals this weekend, starting Friday afternoon against the Saints of Siena. And by the way, here's the exciting news. You'll be able to hear that game live right here on Sports Radio AM 1300 The Zone. Our man Andrew Haynes will be on the call of that. Prior to that, by the way, we've got a special NCAA softball tournament preview from 2 up until 2:45, where Andrew and I will break down the field, and we'll hear from players and from head coach Mike White. Speaking of which, as he joins us now on the hotline to review the season to this point and to get ready for the NCAA tournament, is the head coach Mike White, who's with us now. Mike, I really appreciate the time. How are you today?
Great, thanks, Craig. Obviously, exciting day yesterday, and looking forward to scouting, getting to know a little bit more about the teams coming in.
I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Vic Schaefer prior to the women's basketball tournament selection show. He had a pretty good feeling that his team was going to be a number one seed. Wasn't 100%, but he felt pretty good about it, and they certainly were. Now, I'm sure everybody knew your team was going to be a number one seed. Did you have a good feeling, even with the disappointment of Saturday night against Oklahoma, that your team would be the number one seed for this NCAA softball tournament?
Well, you're never 100% confident, but I would say probably 95%. Just given our volume of work and where we were in the RPI standings going into that weekend, and typically, from what I understand, most of the time those seedings have kind of come out already. They just kind of plug and play and just finish a few things up. So pretty confident, yes.
When you look over, and again, the Saturday notwithstanding, when you look over the thing, what has stood out to you as much as anything else about your group and how they've been able to put themselves to get to this point, to be the top-ranked team in the country, the number one overall seed in the country, Big 12 Conference regular season champions? What is the truest thing that can be said about your group about this 2024 season?
I think it would be the depth of the squad, just the ability for different players to step up, not only in our pitching staff. We had a tough time. Typically you have to have 100 innings to qualify for postseason honors, as far as all region, all American. And we had a tough time filling that. We're in a lot of squads, their pitchers are going 150, 160, even 200 innings. So, that shows the depth that we're using all of our pitchers. And then the same with our players. We've had several players throughout the season change throughout the lineup. And it's been a difficult task at times, but it certainly has helped us.
Mike, is it safe to say because of that, what you just said, you got a pretty well-rested group, not only the ones in the circle, but the ones you've been able to sub out when games were well in hand, that this is about as well-rested a group as you've had in your time as head coach, not only at Texas, but all along your coaching trail?
Yes, I would say so. Definitely having we have 2 full-time catchers as well that could catch other than Reese Atwood, and I think that hurt her at the end of last year, was we had to use her so much, where, Katie Stewart and Katie Simmons have both spelled her this year. And of course, Reese is having just a career year right now. And I think that's all helped. And not only just her, but also the pitching staff and everybody else were all healthy. So touch wood, of course.
Visiting with Mike White, head coach of Texas softball here on Sports Radio AM 1300 The Zone. Okay, I was going to ask you about Reese next. For folks who don't know, here's Reese Atwood leading the nation in RBIs with program records and home runs and RBIs, and is batting a couple hundred points higher than what she was a year ago. I saw Holly Rowe ask her last night on the selection show about what's the biggest difference for her between freshman and sophomore year, and she talked about just getting more comfortable and growing a little bit. Is there something you can add to that as her head coach last year to this season, how she's taken such a quantum leap from her freshman to her sophomore season?
Yeah, I think she's still learning. When we recruited her, she was definitely one of the best catchers, top defensive catchers in the country. And that was our main focus with her. In hitting, we were going to work on. And obviously that's worked out pretty well. Going into her senior year of high school, travel ball, she really became a much better offensive player. And I think she's just growing each year with more and more confidence. Hitting is a confidence type thing. And she started off this year especially hot. And then just kind of, the home run numbers went down a little bit in the middle because I think she was starting to push and press just a little bit, trying to make home runs happen. And then she started to relax again, and that's where she's at right now. So I think just a growing stage for her throughout these first 2 years at college.
So you have three players over 400 in the batting average in Reese and Ashton Maloney and Mia Scott, but Katie Stewart is just a breath beneath it at 397. Even Bella Dayton is within striking distance of that as well. There's that old thing about hitting being contagious. Did you notice it with your team as the season progressed? How if one player got hot, all of a sudden you'd see another one and another one and another one, and it all fed off one another?
Oh, definitely. It's like a snowball picking up snow, as you roll it around. It's the same kind of thing. It just kept going, and it makes it easier when you feel like you don't have to do it all yourself. It's just, pass the bat, let's go, just have some fun. And, certainly, we closed out the season on a high note, scoring a ton of runs, a lot of 5-inning games. We a little bit of a letdown on Saturday against Oklahoma. We only had managed 2 hits, but I think that we got a little shell shock there, and opening up the game, we had a couple of errors, and then of course, the crowd was into it as well. So I think we just didn't play at our best, but I'd rather have that happen then than obviously this coming up.
And I've always wanted to ask you this, Mike: if you get a team to advance to the Women's College World Series at Oklahoma City, you're playing in the same complex, quite often in the same actual stadium itself. How much does playing the conference tournament help once you've wound your way back around and can qualify for the World Series?
Well, it certainly can help. There's no doubt about that. You can't practice being in those environments. We went down last year and we played Oklahoma, one of our league games in the stadium, and they had 8,800 fans there. I think it was a record for the largest, non-postseason game. Obviously, that stadium can hold around 14,000 now. But and they had 4,400 there on Saturday night, but it was all in the lower bowl, and it was obviously all pro Oklahoma. So it was it's again something you just can't practice, and you just got to get in those environments and then how to deal with it. And I think that when we're going to find out this week, we're going to ask those questions. What did you learn from this experience? And hopefully we can put that game behind us and learn how to deal with it.
Well, on a microcosmic level of that very same point, Mike, I might ask you about Citlali Gutierrez because it was her first loss. Did you notice anything different about her after the game and how she has processed that to be as young as she is to deal with her first loss and to shake it off, shrug it off, and compartmentalize it and go back to work and get ready for the regional?
The ironic thing about that, I think that was one of the best games she's thrown all year.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, we just didn't help her out, at all. She had 10 strikeouts against a team that hasn't struck out that many times since 2005, from what I understand. So that's an incredible feat just right there, and just kept us in the game when we weren't at our best. And she really had them guessing. Just made a couple of mistakes, and those are the things that if she can correct those and not given good pitches to hit in tough situations, she can rectify that. She's going to be very tough to hit this postseason. So, and she was happy with her performance. She knew that she'd thrown well, and that's part of the thing with her is building that confidence. So I think that even though she had the loss, I don't feel she's lost any confidence.
Visiting with Mike White, talking Texas softball. Okay, it's regional time. Tell me how much you know about the other teams that are coming in. I know you were supposed to play Northwestern way back, second weekend of the season down in Clearwater, and it was too much water. It got rained out. But other than that, do you know that much about Siena? Do you know that much about St. Francis and your regional field that's coming into Austin this weekend?
Yeah, well, truthfully, I had to kind of check on Siena. This is their first postseason tournament, regional, I believe. But like I tell the ladies of the team, most of these teams, throughout all these teams, have at least one quality pitcher that on their day can cause you issues. So we got to be prepared for that. So we'll do a lot of scouting. St. Francis, we played a couple of years ago, I believe, in a regional here. So we know a little bit about them. And of course, Northwestern, we played them last year. We're up pretty handily, and then they came back and beat us late. So they're typically, a pretty good hitting squad, Northwestern. They've got a pitcher, and all the ERAs on those squads are pretty decent, to tell you the truth. So we've got to be careful. It could be a trap. You got to watch out for the traps.
No doubt about it. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, if you hadn't already been asked a number of times, about the mere fact that your regional aligns with the one in College Station, and if you know who wins, although it's a very good Texas State team that's over there in that regional as well. If the two get together, is it pretty easy to get your group to focus on the here and now and not think about what might be down the road waiting for them in a super regional?
Oh yeah, it's there, and they all know it, so we can't pretend it's not. But we can't worry about it until we get past this first weekend, and that's our focus right now. But that's going to be quite the matchup if it happens to be one of us against one of those Texas teams, the Texas team. So, could be an interesting super regional.
No doubt about it. Hey, Mike, I really appreciate taking a few minutes to visit with us during a very busy week. We're looking forward to the games this week. We're looking forward to broadcasting the games on Friday, having Andrew out there to call it for us here on the Zone. Thanks so much, and best of luck, and we'll look for great things out at McCombs this weekend.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em. All right, that is Mike White, head coach of Longhorn softball. Texas